After winning the largest number of seats in Thailand's general elections, the leader of the Move Forward party, Pita Limja Ruanrat, says he would push ahead with a move to change the country's controversial royal defamation law, but pledged to do it with maturity and transparency. Meanwhile, Thailand's Thai party has vowed to join hands with Move Forward party to form a coalition government. A fiery highway crash involving a passenger van and a freight truck killed 26 people in northern Mexico. The cab that had been pulling the freight trailer was not found at the scene, suggesting that the driver might have uncoupled it and fled. The accident occurred on a highway near the state capital. Authorities say that the cause of the crash is under investigation. Libya has deployed its security forces in Zawiya after battles between armed groups in the western city have left 3 people dead, including 2 civilians. Rival factions in Zawiya, west of the capital Tripoli, have been fighting on and off for weeks. Local medics reported 2 civilians and 1 militiaman have been killed in clashes, adding that 2 other civilians were wounded. The North African country is split between the interim government in Tripoli in the west and another in the east, backed by the military strongman Khalifa Haftar. It has been more than a decade of violence since the NATO-backed uprising toppled and killed Gaddafi in 2011. China's Premier Li Qiang held a meeting with the Eritrean president in Beijing. He said that the country should owe a deepened mutual beneficial win-win cooperation and continuously enrich their strategic partnership. China seeks to bolster its presence in the Horn of Africa. Eritrea could be geopolitically important for China as it has access to the Suez Canal. A Norwegian naval officer has been found guilty of negligence in the 2018 oil tanker collision case. He was sentenced to a 2-month suspended jail sentence for negligence for the collision between the warship he commanded and another oil tanker in which the military vessel sank. The crash near a major North Sea oil export terminal had also triggered shutdowns of parts of Norway's petroleum production. South African President Cyril Ramaphosa has said the country's non-aligned position did not favor Russia over other states. It reiterated the country's call for a peaceful resolution to the conflict in Ukraine. His comments came on the heels of the U.S. allegations last week that weapons were loaded onto Russian ship Lady R from a naval base in Cape Town late last year, which sparked a diplomatic row. The Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky arrived in Britain on Monday as part of his Whirlwind Europe tour. Zelensky landed by helicopter at the Chequers, the British leader's official county retreat, and was greeted by Prime Minister Rishi Sunak. The United Kingdom, a staunch ally of Kyiv, has promised to give Ukraine hundreds more missiles and attack drones in an effort to change the course of the war. This is Zelensky's second trip to the UK since Russia invaded Ukraine in February 2022. Ukraine's military has hailed recent advances around Bakhmut as its first successful counterattack against Russian forces who are fighting for control of the eastern city. Ukraine's military says the situation in Bakhmut is difficult. It has cautioned that Moscow had not changed its goal of capturing the city and was sending assault troops to Bakhmut's outskirts. Addressing the Copenhagen Democracy Summit, Ukrainian President Zelensky issued a new appeal to NATO to make a positive political decision on Kyiv's membership bid at the July summit. Although Ukraine's Western partners have provided it with weapons to fight Russia's invasion, Zelensky is batting for stronger security guarantees for the future and hopes to join the NATO military alliance, which is due to hold a summit in July. Ukrainian soldiers are firing FH-70 howitzers at Russian positions in eastern Donetsk region, and Ukrainian soldiers say that they are trying to advance its infantry troops and hold the enemy back. They say they fired twice at the incoming Russian infantry. A Pakistani court in the eastern city of Lahore has granted bail to the former Prime Minister Imran Khan's wife, Bushra Bibi, in a corruption case in May 2023. Bushra Bibi was co-accused along with Imran Khan in the corruption case, which pertained to the alleged receiving of financial help from a land developer in setting up the Al-Qadar University, of which the former premier and his spouse are trustees. Imran Khan was arrested by the country's anti-corruption agency last week, prompting violent protests across the country. He was later released and received bail from a court in Islamabad for 2 weeks. The 2023 Zhongguoqun Forum, one of China's most high-level forums in the field of science and technology, will take place from the 25th to the 30th of May, themed on open cooperation for a shared future. The forum this year will focus on a number of original and revolutionary sky-tech research achievements. It includes conferences, exhibitions, research achievement releases, and competitions in cutting-edge fields. Syria has ended its 11-year exile from the Arab League, with officials taking part in the preparatory session ahead of Friday's summit in Saudi Arabia. The Syrian President Bashar al-Assad received an invitation from Saudi King Salman to participate in the 32nd Arab League summit, which will be held in Jeddah on May 19. The pan-Arab body had suspended Damascus in November 2011 over its crackdown on protests, which spiraled into a conflict that has killed more than 500,000 people and displaced millions. The Arab League welcomed back Syria's government, securing Assad's return to the Arab fold after years of isolation. Turkey is headed for a runoff vote after President Recep Tayyip Erdogan led over his opposition rival Kemal Kılıçdaroğlu in Sunday's election. Erdogan won more votes than his rival but fell short of the 50% threshold needed to win the first round. The country will now see an election runoff on May 28th. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov has said that it expected cooperation with Turkey to continue and deepen whoever wins the country's presidential elections. His statements come as neither the President Erdogan or his opposition rival appear to have achieved more than 50% of the votes needed to win outright, meaning a second round will be held on May 28th. South Australia State Police continue to search for remains of the 46-year-old surfer who was attacked by a shark off the South Australian coast 2 days earlier. A school teacher, Simon Bacanello, was attacked Saturday while surfing with others near his home in South Australia. While his body is yet to be found, his damaged surfboard was found soon after the incident. South Australia's State Police Superintendent Paul Beher has said that the search will continue for a few more days. Train traffic across Germany was partially disrupted after the Railway and Transport Union cancelled a 50-hour walkout last evening as a result of the court settlement that was reached with the railway operator. There are still trains delayed or called off as the rail operator, the Deutsche Bahn, had to reschedule the services. About one-third of the long-distance trains were cancelled today, and the railway system is expected to resume normal operation beginning from tomorrow. The strike was planned to stage the request for wage increases, the third such this year. China is bracing for a record-breaking heat wave that could threaten electricity supply, crops and a fragile economy. Major Chinese cities have begun issuing heat advisories, with Beijing expected to swelter at 36 degrees temperature. China has suffered from heat waves in several regions since March, with temperatures crossing more than 40 degrees Celsius. Powerful cyclone Mocha battered Myanmar's coast, inflicting damage and cutting off communications. Rescuers evacuated about 1,000 people trapped by seawater along the western Myanmar coast. And according to reports, strong winds injured more than 700 people out of the 20,000 who were sheltering in buildings on the highlands of the township. One of Australia's iconic and unique species, the platypus, was reintroduced to the country in its oldest national park south of Sydney. This was a result of the landmark conservation project. There were no confirmed sightings of the platypus in the Royal National Park since 1970s. Until now, 4 female platypus have been released and 6 more are likely to be released. A mix of 2 females and 4 males will also be released into the park. The relocation is the first attempt at reviving the species. In the southernmost city of Chile, which is hit by wildfires this year, locals have a special task force helping with the fires. A herd of goats, an initiative by the group. Group relies on goats and to control dry pastures and other vegetation that cause forest fires. In the summer, the technique has goats clearing out dry pastures by grazing. The Iraqi government, along with the Louvre Museum, have started a large-scale restoration project at the Mosul Museum after it was targeted by the Islamic State group years ago. Expert teams from the Iraqi General Board of Antiquities and Heritage and France's Louvre Museum and the World's Monuments Fund are coordinating with the Iraqi Ministry of Culture to restore the Mosul Cultural Museum in the north of the country.